Hello and welcome to week 3. So last week we did a couple of exercises. I wanted to kind of explain where I wanted you to start thinking. And I do apologize. I see here that we're having a strange issue with disconnecting a comment. I'm going to talk to Muriel about that, and let's just keep with it and see if that fixes itself. One of the things I wanted you to look at it with Twitter. The goal was to start looking at other data and what was all this other data and how was it useful? Because a lot of people go straight to sort of the main subject or the main topic, or let's just call it, some familiar part of the database to start searching. And because Twitter is just everyone on Earth with an account is just saying whatever they wish to say, it's a pretty big database and it's pretty wild and crazy. So looking for some things, it's a little hard to find any usefulness. I would say most of this is pretty much junk. So I wanted you to get used to seeing that there was a lot more fields needed to give something context. And I think you did a good job of coming up with some queries, but hopefully the connection was made as you went and found a set of data. What's going to happen now is that you're going to need to really become an expert, and you can also change this data in however you like. So for the purposes of the class, we just wanted a jump start, a kickstart. We don't need to necessarily have an entire class around data creation and management to just get started with organizing it. So let's just pretend that you didn't know where this data came from and what it represented. That's what I'd like you to just kind of clear your mind and say, is this at all useful? So that's what this week is about. So this week is pattern. And one other thing I wanted you to explore that isn't emphasized as much as perhaps it should be is the idea of a form. And the reason why I don't emphasize it too much is that the program we use it kind of creates a form for you. But what this form does kind of do under the surface that I want you to start thinking about is about data types. For example, if there's a fixed list of elements, it would become like a drop-down. You can only choose so many things that can go into this field. Dates are another good one. Dates are fairly restrictive. You can't just put anything in there. You have to put a date. So by making the form, I wanted you to kind of think about what were the different types of data in your data set. But we'll get more into that this week. So right now, like I said, just pretend like this data just fell on you as a architect or a organizer, information architect, and you needed to figure out what it was and what was useful about it. And that would mean that many of your data sets have data in it that you can just delete. Also, you can begin to add data. So you can add columns and add representative data for those columns. I wouldn't necessarily do a ton of data per column because that can be pretty tedious, but you can do 5 or 6 examples and that can get you pretty far. I just want to understand that you kind of understand what you're trying to do. So we're trying to make it more universal. So a good example was someone in class had restaurants or something like that in a particular place. Well, by adding an address and even a city, state, and a country, it could be about places anywhere on Earth. So it doesn't take many more fields to describe something much more universal. For me, I'm still working on perfume, but I ended up finding another idea of how to find groupings and categorizations, and we'll get it again into more of the naming conventions and stuff like that next week. So really the exercises this week are, where do you see columns that could group or organize things in smaller pieces? So if every piece of data in your table is unique, that's hard. It's really hard to organize. So if you don't have grouping records or something that you can group with, we need to invent some. The second question is about hierarchy. Do you think is the most important? What field kind of represents what this data is about, and therefore what are supporting fields? And then of course adding, you might again, just can add fields however you like and change your data however you wish. And then the bigger picture, which is what could you think at this moment someone could do with this data? How is it useful? So we're trying to figure out by looking at all these different angles. We're getting prepared to start to create some structures and also try to create some use cases around it. So that's week 3. If you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks.